Okay, so back in MWC 2023, Honor released what was perhaps one of the more interesting smartphones for the year, the Honor Magic 5 Pro, with a distinctive look and the hardware to match any other recent Android flagship. I took it on for a couple weeks and found some pretty interesting things with this device. I'm Raymond, and this is the review of the Honor Magic 5 Pro. Okay, so when I first booted up the Magic 5 Pro, I was instantly greeted with what was perhaps the Magic 5 Pro's strongest feature, this gloriously large display. We're talking about a huge
6.81-inch quad curved OLED display,
pushing a 2848 by 1312 resolution. It pretty much has everything you can expect from a flagship smartphone, such as an LTPO panel for a 1 to 120 Hz adaptive refresh rate, a peak brightness of 1800 nits, 2160 Hz PWM dimming, and HDR10 Plus support. Overall, I found the Magic 5 Pro to have a very impressive audio-visual experience. The large display gets decently bright, and watching content on it was actually quite enjoyable. As is the case with Honor smartphones, you get to pick between the color profiles and the settings, but Normal seems to offer the best balance, and so I left it as is on that profile. The stereo speakers, meanwhile, were actually really good as well, nearly on par with the likes of other flagships from Apple and Samsung, if perhaps not quite there just yet.
I use the Microsoft Launcher because it's simple to use and pleasing on the eyes, but
the quad curvedness of the display, meanwhile, isn't actually that quad. The top and bottom of the screen do have a slight curve to them, but it isn't as pronounced as the sides. To Honor's credit though, the Magic 5 Pro feels great in the hand, and that matte finish on the back in particular is really nice to the touch. You also get an IP68 dust and water resistance rating here, which is a nice creature comfort to have. I have to say though, I'm not a huge fan of this camera bump design, which has a raised circle with sloping edges, almost like a mesa in the desert. It's certainly not as gaudy as something like the OnePlus 11, thankfully, but Honor's Eye of Muse design gives me more of a hidden Mickey vibe than anything else. Under the hood, meanwhile, you can find Qualcomm's latest and greatest Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 here, with 12 gigs of RAM and 512 gigs of storage on our model. With basically the best silicon available on the Android scene, the Magic 5 Pro is definitely no slouch and is able to pretty much handle anything I threw at it, be it gaming, productivity, texting, video, all that jazz. It will get a little warm after a while, but never to the point where I was actually worried about it. Honor is also guaranteeing 3 Android OS upgrades and 5 years of security patches with the Magic 5 Pro. Where I do have issues with the Magic 5 Pro though is this Magic OS skin over the Android 13 operating system. There's just some weird oddities about it that makes it feel less polished than its rivals. I mean, why can't I just pull down the home screen to get to my notifications? Why is it so difficult to shut down the actual phone or restart it using the side buttons? And with Honor programming them instead to launch Google Assistant, take a screenshot and start screen recording by default. In fact, you have to hold the power button and keep holding it even after the Google Assistant appears, and only then will you actually get the option to power down the phone. Also, Netflix isn't supported on the Magic 5 Pro, even though it was when I actually first booted up the phone. At the very least, battery life is quite decent. The 5100 mAh battery will easily last me a day, and I'll still have a third or more of battery life left. If you forget to charge it at night, you should still be able to get through another half day or so before you need to charge it again. And if you do, you'll be happy to know that the Magic 5 Pro has a 66-watt supercharged fast charging, along with 50-watt supercharged wireless charging. In the camera department, meanwhile, Honor is claiming some big upgrades here. There's a main 50-megapixel f1.6 camera, together with a 50-megapixel f2.0 ultra-wide and a 50-megapixel f3.0 periscope telephoto too, which offers a 3.5 times optical zoom with up to 100 times digital zoom. Up front, meanwhile, there's a 12-megapixel f2.4 selfie camera alongside a 3D depth sensor too. Overall, the main camera is actually quite solid, at least in comparison to the last Honor smartphone I used, the Honor 50. shots mostly come out great even in occasionally tough lightings, but for general point and shoot purposes, you'll likely find it more than capable with solid color reproduction and lighting. Low light shots are apparently helped with this new Falcon capture algorithm, and for the most part you'll get usable photos. However, it's the ultra wide and the telephoto in contrast that are a little bit more hit and miss. Given the appropriate lighting, they'll do the job just fine, but they often lag behind the main camera in getting focused shots. Photos also tend to look a little bit noisy, especially with this periscope telephoto, and the 100 times digital zoom is pretty rough in comparison to Samsung's flagships. There's also some gimmicks here, such as this AI motion sensing camera that Honor says will be able to help you get the perfect action shot without motion blur, while burst mode will capture a bunch of shots and give you the best one. The Magic 5 Pro's AI motion sensing capture supposedly uses AI to detect movement during sporting events and such to take a shot. For the most part though, I think I prefer the regular method of just taking burst shots or just timing it myself. Lastly, we come to the price tag of the Magic 5 Pro, and here's how much it will cost in Malaysia. However, at time of recording this, we don't actually know the price tag just yet, so it's hard to completely judge the device. That being said though, I can say that the Honor Magic 5 Pro is indeed a very well-rounded smartphone, albeit with some weaknesses that I think Honor can work on, such as the Magic OS skin and the camera system. Luckily for them, these aren't huge hardware issues by any means, so they could probably get it right with some OTA updates down the line. Whether or not it's actually worth that price tag though will depend on if you prefer forking out a bit more, something that's more polished like the Galaxy S23 Ultra instead, or stick with this. Well, that's been our review of the Honor Magic 5 Pro. Let us know what you think of the device down below in the comments. Like if you liked this video, dislike if you didn't, and remember to subscribe for more from us here at Soya Chinchap. This has been Raymond, signing out.